let's get right into it. In terms of your specific plans, are there any immediate objectives that you're looking to get out of the way?
Well, yes, the executive committee and myself have decided that we really want to focus on eligibility requirements. We want to spend some time building communication between the Intercol committee and the institutions that are a part of Intercol. Right. We want to do some constitutional reform. All of that we want to get accomplished before the next AGM, which is in June of next year.
Okay. All right. In the past, Intercol has produced a number of star athletes, be it track, be it football, be it cricket. To speak of Asava Powell, Elaine Thompson, Chadwick Walton in cricket, Robman Powell. Is Intercol lacking star quality in terms of those performing and being able to bring spectators in to watch Intercol sports, as we see with high school sports?
It isn't, you know, because when you look at even the World Championship team last time, the track team had quite a few persons on it who are either presently a part of an institution or have been a part of an institution. The netball team, the national netball team, have a number of netballers who are at either UE, UTech, or GC Foster and Michael. So it's not lacking in star quality. That's one of the things we really have to spend some time to try to understand why it is that we don't get the support that we should, because these are all national representatives that are, you know, playing for these institutions.
Because when you look at Intercol sports, whether it's athletics, whether it's cricket, whether it's football, and those attending, the numbers are sometimes worrying in terms of how low they are. Right. So then it begs the question as what specific plan you might have, or you and your committee, to, you know, to immediately address this.
Well, first, to immediately address that, I think we want to get the institutions, all the institutions on board, because especially the senior administrators of the institutions, because sometimes when you go to these activities, you really don't even see a lot of people from the institutions that are participating. And if the institutions are not supporting the activities, then we really can't expect the public to come out and support us. So we really want to spend some time, you know, engaging the principals and senior administrators of all the institutions that are involved, and that would be the universities, the polytechnics, the community colleges, and so on, and get them to become a part or to pay more attention to Intercol sports.
Yeah. Let's get inside the administrative setup now of Intercol. A few years ago, there were some issues with where Dalton Myers left his post earlier, didn't complete his tenure as president. Sefton Brown stepped in, headed that steering committee of which you served on last year. Yeah. Are you comfortable with where Intercol is administratively at this juncture?
No. That's one of the things we plan to tackle, because now we have a committee in place, but we also have a lot of work to do with the secretariat, because you do know there is a secretariat, and we have to look at now records keeping and you know, ensuring that communication coming out of the secretariat is the correct communication, or, you know, it is actually coming out of the secretariat. So we have some management issues that we have to undertake. Now, the steering committee didn't do a lot of work with the administrative matters or so. It was just set up to keep things in place, not to make any changes. The difference now is that the committee is able to make changes and to make adjustments to what is happening.
Yeah. Has there been any thought to aligning Intercol a bit more with ISA? Because, you know, the athletes, they do leave high school into the local colleges and universities and community colleges. But in terms of administratively now, has there been any thought to work a bit closer with ISA, who are far more high profile than Intercol is?
Yes, we have talked about that. We haven't worked out how that relationship will be yet. We have to meet with members of the ISA committee. What we, one of the things we want to do, though, is to begin to go out into these institutions, like the high schools and so on, to let people, I know different institutions will go to visit the high schools, but as a committee, as an intercol body, we need to be there so they know that, you know, this is the organization that is going to help to push you in your sport through your university or your college that you're attending. So we don't want to be a bystander anymore and just wait on everybody to come in. We want to be, you know, proactive and be involved in the recruitment of athletes and, you know, let them know that we're there. We're vibrant.
I like that. And speaking of being proactive, the issue of sponsorship always comes up. It doesn't matter if it's at the high school level or college level. What are your own particular plans to bring in more sponsorship for intercollege sports? Because we know with more sponsorship, things can be better.
Well, first we want to set up a committee that is going to really focus on doing our proposal writing and so on, because when we approach the sponsors, you need to have something to offer. We can't just go on hands outstretched and begging. The ones that are on board already, we really want to engage them to see how much more they can do to help us to, you know, lift the image of this, of intercol. As you know, NCB is one of our major partners with the track meet, but we really want to get other organizations involved. But as I said, we need to put together our package so that, you know, we know what it is that they know what it is that we are offering them at this time. That is work in progress.
Yeah. One sport in particular that's really rising locally, regionally, is cricket, wherein we find a lot of collegiate cricketers playing for regional franchises. How can you further tap into this to even use this as an attraction for intercollege sports?
Right now, we have a number of students from intercollege institutions playing in the present Super 50, the West Indies Super 50 competition. So we have, you know, that is just the thought of them getting on these teams and being seen and being on TV and being counted as professional cricketers and so on is a big draw. As you know, we have, after winning the Senior Cup, UWI, we don't have problems getting cricketers to want to come to UWI. Yeah. And other institutions are basically doing the same because we are allowed to now participate in the highest level of cricket in Jamaica and also in the Caribbean.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you mentioned before, that of student eligibility and, you know, for the respective intercol events. That has been a perennial issue for intercol. What are you planning to do to address this issue in particular?
First, we plan to sit with different institutions because the Constitution right now speaks to universities, teachers' colleges, and community colleges. But we do have a number of other tertiary level institutions that are really not represented or covered by the Constitution. So one of the first things we want to do, in fact, I've already engaged the assistance of a lawyer to help us to chart a different constitution or additional, you know, to make amendments to this constitution so that the institutions like VDTI and the polytechnics and so on are really properly represented, because at this time it says if you're doing a degree program, then you're eligible, or if you're doing a course that is going to lead to a degree, you're eligible. Then what happened to all the other courses that these institutions are doing? Some of them, they're all, you know, they're accredited courses. We're not talking about a 3-month course or so, but they are properly developed and accredited courses in these other institutions that right now the Constitution is saying, well, these people shouldn't be participating. Yeah. So, you know, the good thing about my committee is that we're all from different institutions. So we have 2 persons from universities, from different universities. We have a teachers' college involved. We have VDTI involved. We have Trenchtown Polytechnic involved. So we have a good mix so that we can, you know, sit at the table and ensure that we are all represented by this body that we are serving.
And lastly, speaking of representation and the Constitution itself, where community colleges are concerned, there are lots of community colleges, some of whom aren't necessarily participating in intercol sports at present. Will you be making it a priority to get more of the community colleges involved so we can have a wider spread, a wider pool of talent and participation?
The initial discussion, yes, is to get as many of the tertiary level institutions as possible involved. Hence, we want to do the constitutional reform. We also have looked at our, just beginning to talk about different ways we can get people involved, maybe having different divisions. So that, because the argument is, boy, we can't compete with the big institutions like UWI and UTEC and GC Foster and so on. But if we have different leagues or different divisions, then everybody can, feel comfortable to participate and feel like they can win something and they won't always be behind these other big institutions. So we have had some initial conversations about that. We've only been in it for a week, so...
Sounds good already. Sounds good already. And we'll definitely be following up with you, Dorothy Hudson-Gayle, new president of Intercol. Certainly, we thank you for bringing us this update.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so we will take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be heading inside the ring for Fight Night. Soon come.